Hello, it is Robin here from Hooking Outside the Lines, and I thought I would give you a little update on the Rooster and how it's going. I have done other projects in between this, but I keep coming back to him, and I'm just having so much fun. And for me, that is the whole point. And the absolute reason I chose this pattern in the first place several years ago when I drew it, it is a McAdoo pattern from the Oxford Company. I don't believe it's currently available, but maybe if you ask them, it might be available again in the future. It is Rooster in the geraniums. It is a large, I think 24 by 36 pattern. And it doesn't fit on my frame here in one go, but it's a pretty big frame, so I got half of it. Um, I have just been finishing the Rooster himself. I struggled to find the right color at first, which I know I ended up on white, which is not, really a color, but the rest of it is so colorful. I don't know if it shows here, but these are pretty fluorescent. The flower pot, everything is pretty intense in color, and I really did not feel good about the other options I had tried. I put things in, I took them out, I went through all of that, and I was really happy when I decided to go with sari silk, which kind of looks like this. It's sari silk yarn, so it's torn into ribbons. But I got halfway through and I realized I don't have enough. I had another skein, but the other skein was much more yellow, and I wasn't happy with it on its own. So I had to rethink things, and then I went with yarn. Big, I'm just reaching here to see if I have some. Anyway, the rug yarn by Violet Jane, as well as some wool strips because I love punching wool strips. And so I had some natural colored undyed door white wool in there. And I'm going to see if I can give you a closer look at these loops in there. So again, tails aren't clipped. It's looking kind of messy, obviously not steamed. So, but you get that texture, a mix of the different materials that I really like. Um, so I'm quite happy. He's almost done. There's just a little patch here, a couple of little spots in my geraniums. I do have to, let's see if I can turn this around. Um, I do have to finish, I will have to move the pattern one more time because the border and this rest of the geraniums will have to be done when I move it on the frame. So I'm super excited. He is coming along. He will be done not too long. Not too long. One of the things I did that some people asked me for follow-up was my name tag. So this is my husband's name tag. Here is my name tag, and I wanted to show you how I completed them. Once again, or as usual, I should say, this is not necessarily the best way or the recommended way. It is just the way that I did it because it was things that I had in the house. And for me, that's usually a good reason for doing something is it's easy and it's available. So I punched these. Obviously, remember to turn your name. They could be hooked just as easily. These ones are a fine, so I used a number 13 and 14 Oxford punch needle. Fine. I have cut out, and I'll tell you, I had planned on doing heat and bond on the back, and then peeling off the paper and sticking it on. Well, the heat and bond I had was old. So a little tip for anybody that might have heat and bond in a house is it needs to be kept in a airtight bag, like a Ziploc bag or a plastic bag that you can tie up, because it dries out and then it doesn't properly work after that. And that certainly was the case with this. So I gave up on the heat and bond. And then I couldn't find at that moment my white glue, the trusty old white glue that dries clear. I have since found it. I had a new bottle or little bottle. So this is one. It doesn't have to be this brand. Sorry, here we go. Tacky glue that dries clear. That is really important for when I'm using glue most of the time, that it dries clear. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. So I also had this sort of velvety fabric that has sticky on the back. So it has a piece of paper, and when you peel off the paper, and you can buy sheets like this that are velvet or felt, like polyester felt, but and this has a very good strong sticky. And I bought this a while ago for use on the back of coasters. If I was making coasters, it's kind of a, protects your table or whatever. But I had some left over, so I went and pulled this out. I stuck it on the back, and then I cut it out, obviously. And just so you can see, I've cut it. I had both my name tags on here. It is quite sticky, so I was quite pleased with that. And then just to show you, I cut. I didn't want to sew a hem. I wanted to keep this as thin and light as possible so that when we're wearing it, it's not really heavy or pulling on our shirt. So um, I didn't do a hem. I just cut it, and I made sure not to cut too close to the loop. So from, straight on, you can't really see the monk's cloth, but I'm pulling back the loops. I have about 2 rows of monk's cloth there to protect it. And what I'm going to do, because I found my glue, I am going to a little bit of water and a little bit, like, sort of almost half or a little bit more glue, because sometimes this gets really thick when it comes out of here, and it's hard to paint on. And what I do is just with a little, like a child's paintbrush or an old paintbrush that you don't care about, like a little for crafting. And I'm going to paint it along here. And when it's watered down, it just goes on much smoother and will get absorbed into the monk's cloth, and it won't fray. So with usage and it getting bumped against, it's going to stay on there. It'll also help hold the velvet should that get unstuck. That layer of glue should do the trick. Now I did, because I was again anxious to get it all together, I had purchased, again in my collection of things, these like brooch back pins, just to make your own brooches. And I had some new Gorilla Glue. I also love this kind of glue because it'll glue to anything. And I was worried that this velveteen kind of fabric wouldn't be very substantial for the metal and the white glue to hold it all together when it's on a shirt if it gets bumped and pulled. So I went with my new Gorilla Glue. However, my past Gorilla Glue, when I bought it, it was clear. It came out clear and it dried clear. And the bottle here, it still looks clear. But if you look in the front, it actually says white. And I thought, well, that is bizarre because it's clear. Anyway, sure enough, it does dry white. So you can see it on there. It is sturdy. It does not move. So still what I'm going to use for this, but just as FYI, you definitely don't want to put it where you might see it because it is going to dry white, like it or not. So yeah, those were kind of my lessons learned over my name tags. Again, hemming would have worked. Doing a little whip stitch would have worked. All of those things are options. I just wanted something really sort of easy and quick to get done. So I will finish mine. I will cut around it. I will glue my pin on the back, and I will also use my clear craft glue to just kind of secure the edges from fraying and getting pulled out. But yeah, now I have nice name tags to wear, or my husband and I, when we go to craft shows, and they should stay on. I will report back if they don't, but that is my my progress so far. So I hope you're having a wonderful summer. I hope you're staying cool. We are having heat waves here in Ottawa and surrounding, and I know in many parts of North America they are too. So please stay safe and take care. Happy punching and happy hooking.